What kind of negative effects are we looking out for? Like, what are the properties of drugs we should be careful about? Is it addictive properties? How addictive it is? How destructive or painful, whatever the withdrawal process is? What kind of things are we looking out for?
Yeah, those are certain kind of questions we certainly have asked because, something like crack cocaine versus alcohol or heroin, when it comes to withdrawal or physical dependence, like cocaine has a very limited sort of withdrawal symptoms. I mean, it's hard to see. Same is true with methamphetamine, but with heroin, you certainly can see a withdrawal syndrome that's displeasant, that's unpleasant. But with alcohol, that withdrawal can actually kill you. So heroin is unpleasant and not lovely, but with alcohol withdrawal, that's the one that's the most dangerous. I mean, all of these kind of questions we want to know answers to, and so when we think about heroin or some other drugs, and you say like, what kind of negative effects? Negative effects we don't talk about much in the society. The main thing that really concerns me about like heroin use really is constipation. So if people are using heroin on a regular basis and then they have a sort of slowing of their gut motility, they're likely to increase constipation, and that's not good. I mean, for your general health. But we never talk about that in this society, and that's probably the most important thing, aside from the fact that people get contaminated street drugs and that sort of stuff and increase the likelihood of maybe dying from some contaminant, or people who are inexperienced and they're mixing heroin with other sedatives. That's not good. But the constipation is a huge one. And then other sort of drugs, negative effects, like the amphetamines, all of the amphetamines, they disrupt sleep, food intake. All of these things are so critical for sustaining human life. But we never talk about that because it's not as sexy as this nonsense that people write about, like addiction. Addiction has almost nothing to do with the drugs themselves. And I make that comment because the vast majority of users for any drug never become addicted. And so if the vast majority of users don't become addicted, then you have to move beyond the drug when you're talking about the phenomena interest, in this case, addiction. And so when we think about addiction, it has much more to do with our psychosocial environment than the drug itself. But that's not sexy.
So addiction is even a property of the environment, not a property, a result of the environment.
It certainly can be. There are people who are suffering from co-occurring mental illness like depression, anxiety. I mean, that's within the person, of course, and that increases the likelihood for addiction. So that's not so much the environment, but there are people who, for example, they have chronic unrealistic expectations heaped on them, and those people are more likely to have some problems with drugs. There are people who are just immature, not haven't developed responsibility skills. They are likely to have some problems if they engage in some of these behaviors. There are people who lost their jobs, COVID, factories went away, a wide range of things. And those people used to have standing in their community. Now they have none. Those people might be susceptible to having a drug related problem if they indulge. All of these kind of issues are far more important than the drug itself.
So they could seek escape in a particular drug. I mean, there is a biochemical thing to each of these drugs, and some pull you in harder than others when you need the escape, right? When you're not doing well in life.
What evidence you have for that
I
bullshit?
don't. I
Yeah, because there is none. There is absolutely none. I mean, people say stuff like that, and that's the problem. That's precisely the problem.
see. I'm operating from limited personal evidence.
Well, this is a problem though, but we have a scientific database.
Yeah.
We don't need personal evidence for this. We have, in my book, I try to go through some of the science so people could understand. It's like when you have a math problem, you don't want people saying, well, I feel like this. Fuck what you feel. What does the data say?